This is the November energy update. These updates are designed a little differently than maybe some of the other energy updates floating around on the internet. These are designed to help you be in your power during the month of November. They're designed to help you navigate the energy of the month and being in harmony with it or doing what you can to harmonize with the energy. So let's just dive into November's energy. There's been so much going on in the collective energies in the United States. There's the election. This is not going to be about the election, but as you can imagine, there's a lot of fiery energy. There's a lot of passionate energy going on in the collective. There's a lot of fear-based energy around that passionate energy as well. So I really see November as a great month to practice your ability to pause and just tap in with your own center before you speak, before you react to what's going on in the world. The reality is especially with this is not going to be a video just about the United States election, but it's a big deal, and I would be uh, probably, you know, I would probably regret not mentioning it because it is such a big deal. But really acknowledging that no matter what happens, there are people that are going to probably be upset. Not everybody's going to get their way. And how we navigate the misunderstandings that have been amplified, right? There's so much that I think looking at the lens of the United States election, even if you're watching this and you are abroad or you don't live in the United States, I think there's so much that this interaction between people can teach us about what it means to be in our power and how we communicate with each other and how we respond to misunderstandings or sometimes even blatant lies, blatant denial, blatant avoidance of sensitive topics. How many times do you see a politician talking about a sensitive topic and they skirt around it? They don't address the question. They don't communicate clearly. So I see this as a month to really practice your own communication skills, especially when there are people that have different opinions than you, especially when there are people that may misunderstand you. And no matter what you do or how you try to explain or convince another person to see your point of view, your perspective, they may refuse to, or they may not be capable of that. And the real magic is the pause. It is being honest with who are people that are capable of understanding your perspective and also being honest with yourself of what do you need to do to support yourself emotionally when people don't understand your perspective, because there's emotions that come with that. It can trigger deep trauma around not being heard or listened to or responded to kindly. So the more you can hear yourself, listen to the emotions, pause. That pause isn't about controlling yourself, because I think there is this subtle underlying perfectionist type energy, which is kind of, I want to say a misuse. That is actually what's coming up, a misuse of this fiery, passionate energy, our life force, when we are being mindful and trying to communicate clearly and lovingly and compassionately. And when we're pausing, are you doing so to kind of censor your own self, to like almost shapeshift or make sure your comments are not going to upset others? Are you doing it as a way to control your inner life force and your natural expression? And if so, what is the motivation behind that? What is the unmet need that is causing you to kind of use that fiery life force energy directed towards yourself rather than expressing yourself freely in the world? I mean, the elections and anytime you get to vote or make choices, especially really big choices in life, it's an expression of who you are. So just being able to pause and notice that within yourself, I think is really what the pause is about. It's not this like controlling thing of like, I want to respond in the most perfect way that the other person is going to respond positively. We can have that intention of like, of course, we want people to understand us. That's so normal. It is such an important need to feel like other people understand you and get you and that you belong and that it can be safe to express yourself. And the reality is that's not always the world we live in. So, sometimes the most kind, compassionate thing you can do when you're pausing and like, okay, how do I want to respond to this person or how do I want to communicate? Sometimes silence isn't always a bad thing when it comes to honoring your authentic expression. So there's just a lot to consider with all of this. And the more you can, again, bring that honesty to the table about what is driving your expression. Is it a fear-based thing of like, even when I'm pausing and you being mindful and trying to be compassionate and understanding of other people, am I doing so at my own expense? Am I doing so out of a fear-based mindset because I'm afraid of how they'll react? And, that's not bad or wrong. Some people are incredibly dangerous, mentally, emotionally. Man, my throat chakra is just like lighting up as I'm talking about all of this. So, of course, this is going to be like throat chakra city for November. But it's more about like, how are you grounding your expression? How are you grounding yourself and connecting to the really authentic part of yourself when it comes to expressing and communicating yourself with other people? But what I was saying is that if you are in that fear base, is even if it's really subtle, uh, of how you're communicating, how you're showing up online, if you have an online business or you are trying to connect with other people, however you are trying to do that, being really honest with your intentions, your motivations behind that can just be really helpful this month and being gentle and loving with your own self if you are in a fear-based thing. Because what I was saying was that there are people that are not safe to communicate honestly with. There are people that are threatening when you communicate honestly your authentic expression. There are people that are not going to respond well. And this is just the reality that we live in. And so what do you need to do in order to stay grounded, not shut down your expression out of fear, but maybe finding spaces where it is safe to communicate how you feel, finding boundaries around the people you just know are going to be super dangerous, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, on all the levels when you express yourself. And I think that would be just like a really good thing to journal on to start November, getting some resources in place to support your authentic expression. What are those resources within that you can cultivate or turn to when your expression isn't received positively by others? What are the resources within your community and the people that you are connected with that you can lean on or just surround yourself with when things get heated? So these are the really, I think, good questions. And also, like, how do I want to be communicating in the world? How do I want to be received in the world? And who are the people that I know will be that kind, compassionate, listening ear, even if they disagree? and just making sure you're finding time to spend around those people. Again, especially if you are a person that is, any has any sort of presence on in the wider general public. So having a social media profile and posting what you believe to be true, your thoughts, your opinions, your expression, just knowing that when you are opening yourself up to the public like that, that you are going to, there are lots of different people with lots of different perspective and lots of different levels of consciousness and lots of different levels of being able to receive you and your expression with kindness and compassion, even if there is disagreement. And so just being like honest with the expectations that you place, because I feel like sometimes when we are on social media, I guess I'm really being called to talk about social media this month and just like really being honest with what are you expecting to get out of social media if you're active on that for business purposes or just even personal expression. That's what that is. It is a space to express what's important to you, even if it's through a business lens or a personal lens or some other kind of lens that I may not know about. Um, what are the true intentions behind that, and what are your expectations from other people on there? I just think those are really, really important questions to ask ourselves because I feel like so many people have dreams that involve being able to express in a confident way, whether that's like writing your story and publishing it, whether that is just sharing art that you've created with other people. Maybe it is starting a little side business that you've always been passionate about, sharing the things that you're passionate about. Just getting honest with your expectations around how other people can respond to that and developing your own center of, how your own like grounded centeredness, your rock within that is like, I got you, no matter how other people receive my expression. That's a really beautiful thing to be working on in November. And, you know, making sure you are sharing your art, your creations, your thoughts, and your opinions with safe people. It's like so important to have somebody reflect to you the brilliance, the goodness, the beauty in your expression, your authentic expression. And those have been hard spaces, I feel like, to find and um, put yourself in until recently. And now there are more people that are becoming consciously aware and have the capacity to see the goodness, the beauty, the intelligence behind what it is you're creating and sharing in the world from a perspective, like even if they disagree or they don't think it's the best or whatever, they have thoughts about what they would do differently or, just have different perspectives that they can still reflect to you that they honor what you think is beautiful, what you think is um, just like your passionate drive to create. Because we all are, at the end of the day, designed to be creative beings, to create things in life. And that can show up in so many different ways. I feel like November has this potent life force, creative energy behind it. And so it is going to, the first thing we create is our expression, are the words that we speak, is our communication. Well, that's not the first thing. The first thing you create is your body. The soul creates the body. However that happens, I don't know all the exact mechanics, but that is the first thing is created. But then after that, like your first expression is your voice. And I think that's just going to be highlighted very prominently. And I think it's a really potent month for creation. creating new things, but in this honest way. I feel like there is so much societal pressure to say, like, create a business, to just quit your 9 to 5 and do something different with your life. And I think that is the path for some people. That is their true passionate calling. And I also see this undercurrent of like, I'm doing this because it's popular or other, I just feel like that would make me special or important. So it's really about, again, getting honest with your driving motivations. Is it for validation or to like seem cool or like that you're doing amazing things in the world and you're blazing trails? Okay, that is all fine and great if that's where you're at. But is that where you want to be at? I don't have the answer to that. It's perfectly fine if you're like, I am doing these activities and expressing myself in a way where I'm looking for that recognition that I'm like, I have like created my own multi-million-dollar business and that makes me so proud. If that's you, that's great. Is that how you want to be using your life force? Is that how, the way your life force wants to express through you? So I'm not here to say don't do those things. I'm doing those things, but it's about like, is that your truth? What is your real truth behind like what's driving your motivations and actions? And if that is your real truth, then let that be your truth. And then develop ways to be okay with however the world responds to that. Like this is my passionate truth and how I want to live my life. This is what feels good for me. This is what feels aligned for me, no matter if, even if I am doing it for validation. I need that right now. So I'm gonna let myself do this for validation. And maybe you can work on other ways to validate yourself that don't involve just one thing. So I think that's also another call that November is asking energetically is that it's so great to have passion behind the projects and the things you're creating or your relationships or whatever it is that lights you up. And, looking at your needs, like what needs are those things helping you to meet in your life? No right or wrong, good or bad. If it is validation, we're just going to keep using that as an example. And I keep bringing it up because it may be something that you have to look at. It's how you're sourcing your own validation in life and just making sure that you're not placing all your eggs in one basket is really what the message is there. It's like, that's fine. If you want to be a successful millionaire in your life because you want that validation of like, I know what I can learn anything, and this is what I want to learn, and I want to make it successful, and that feels good to me. There's nothing wrong with that. But just make sure it's not your only source of validation. Can you expand on that and like recognizing that validation, again, just going with that example, is a perfectly valid need. It's a need to be validated by other people. And I guess I'm going on a little rant about, personal growth and the healing space here for a minute because there is this subtle energy within personal growth and mindset work and all of this that we should be able to source all of our own needs from within. And while I do think that is incredibly important, just like we're talking about validation, again, going with that example, being able to validate your own self is freaking non-negotiable, right? If you want to be healthy and balanced mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. That for me, that is what I see to be true. Of course, take that or leave that. But validation, there's also a very real human need to be validated by others and accepted by others and have belonging with other people. And that is also equally important. And we just sometimes we can't give everything to ourselves that we need. We need other people to reflect that back to us. So November is really asking you to, yeah, get honest about what you really need at this moment. Even if it is, man, I just would like somebody to recognize my value. And I know I should be recognizing my own value, and I can do that, but dang, it would feel good for somebody else to recognize my value. Just as long as you're again not saying that only other people can give that to you, recognize and know how to give that to yourself. Um, and some people that are tend to be more independent and closed off because they have wounds around trusting other people to meet their needs when they've opened up in the past and expressed their needs. It hasn't gone well, or people have said no, or they have maybe gotten angry or even a little bit abusive towards you when you've asked for help or getting your needs met. And this is the reality, I think, that a lot of, again, healing, personal growth circles need to come to when we are moving in that hyper independent um territory of like, I can give everything I need to myself. Yes, on one level that is very true. It is always you and it comes back to you always, and you always have the power to give things to yourself. But sometimes those need to, in the human experience, need to be given by other people to you. You can believe it all day in your heart. And sometimes we need that reflection from another person. So coming back to the like, how are you expressing yourself? How are you asking for your needs? Are you being open and upfront about your expectations with people and what need you are asking them to help you fulfill? And is that person like if you're going to social media for validation, for example, which is super common by the way, and I don't want you to go all inner critic on yourself about all this, because I have been there more times than I can count of wanting validation from sharing my work on social media because I want to know what I'm doing is making a positive impact. There's nothing wrong with that. And being honest with the expectations of when you're opening yourself up to the public, is it realistic and or healthy to have that as your sole source of getting that need met? So it's really this like beautiful blending and balancing of like some people need to learn how to give things to themselves. And you'll know if you're in that boat, if this is really resonating with you in that, where you're like kind of just depending on a lot of other people outside yourself to give you certain things. Maybe this is your season to learn how to give to yourself. This is also a pattern you'll notice if you are tending to be a really giving person to others. This might be your season to learn how to give to yourself. And and with that, allowing yourself to receive from other people instead of always giving as the way you are trying to get your needs met. And some people, it's the reverse. So just maybe pausing the video and some people can just be more like, I don't like to rely on other people. So that would be the other side of things. I don't like to rely on other people. I don't really like to be giving with other people because it makes me feel like there's unspoken obligations or like I'm going to end up having to take too much responsibility for these people. And so I just prefer to stick to myself. This may be your season to explore really connecting with other people, being giving to other people, and being open to that being a beautiful source of nourishment for you. That when you can open up and be giving with other people, that can be well responded to. So, you will know in this video, maybe even just pausing it and kind of tuning in with your own body. Is this a season of where I need to learn how to give to myself? Or is this a season where I need to learn how to open up to be giving with other people? I think at the end of the day, both camps of people have trust issues at the core, either trusting themselves or trusting other people, or really honing the sword of discernment is also what we're talking about here. Like, who is safe to express with? Who can I reliably expect? And they are capable of fulfilling that expectation of meeting certain needs for me, and that honesty that happens within, that is like sharpening the sword of discernment, which if you are a person also that is empathic in nature and struggles with boundaries, whether that's energetic, mental, physical, emotional, and you tend to feel other people's stuff, this discernment and in being honest with your motivations and your needs and where you're sourcing those from, and If you're placing all your expectations on one person or one thing that may or may not be capable of giving you everything you need, like looking at that with clear, honest discernment and working to just know that that's something you learn over time. So it's okay, even if over the course of this month or even this video, you're like, whoa, okay, I've been definitely like wanting people to accept me that are just not accepting people. And maybe I need to source that acceptance somewhere else. And how can I do that? And looking at that honestly. So if you are like your things are getting stirred up for you in this video, I just want you to know that this is a normal place to be. And it's normal when you're building the skill of discernment that you are going to encounter these things where you are having to reevaluate old relationships and maybe making different decisions and changing motivations or where you're getting your needs met. And so just looking at it as a learning experience is the most kind, compassionate thing you can do for yourself in the month of November as you're looking at your expression and your needs and how you're asking for those and who you're asking them of. So just remember, this is a learning process, and there's nothing good or bad or wrong about where you're at or what kind of needs you have or where you've been getting those needs met in the past. And that is my message for November. Of course, if these are big, heavy topics for you, I'd love to support you one-on-one or in my women's group. The links for those are below this video. And I just am wishing you the most beautiful November full of authentic expression that feels good to you and people receiving that well for you and getting your needs met. Bye.